Uploaded Very, Part 2, Nadine's Story. Chapter 6, Eat Quietly, Then Leave. It's alright, Slefner. I know you don't like me personally. Slefner never saw her again. Since then, his first girlfriend hung herself in her room. With nowhere else to turn to his sorrow, Slefner turned to the arcades. You can grow up with someone and never really get to know them. While Slefner knew there was something different about Ellen compared to his first love, he didn't know she would murder her father. There were some things that Ellen did not know about Slefner as well. One of the few regrets he had in his life was not to get to know her more. Now that he was on the edge of death, he found himself wishing for a rewind. He was the best of gamers, the best of thieves. He could get the highest score with no question asked. If he was put to the task during a gaming session, he took it in stride as an off day. He could always get better. You had to if you wanted to improve. This was his life. In some ways, he would rather not want to live it any other way. In one of their first gaming sessions, he felt like tutoring Ellen in ways of the world. As one of the few actual girls he liked, he found himself having conflicted feelings between the desire to be her father figure and her movie buddy. Except Slefner was just a kid too, as she was he, and all he wanted to be was free from the horrors of this world. He had last broken off with his previous girlfriend. Despite being 3 younger than the minimum to drink, they found their solace in the drop. Like flavor of mild peaches under the fall summer heat of the tanning bed of which he used to take her. But Ellen was different. He wanted something more. He thought that Ellen could provide it. After all, she was one of the few girls that he found he could have a man-to-man discussion with. To others, he came across as someone who experienced mid-swing, but he knew, unlike anyone else, that he was always thinking about things. Slefner thought about his previous relationship and his current. His last hope was for a desiring woman at all, and yet, despite no interest in Ellen, he found there was something in her that made him want to hold on, unlike others who failed. When he thought that his life was beyond the pale, when his old girlfriend took his robotic dog to the next state over, Ellen was there to comfort him unlike anyone else. Yet part of his affection was that he found something in her that made him proud to be her friend. Slefner never liked baseball, at least not very much. He wanted to be her batter and have her catch his balls. He wrote one poem devoted to one of the previous girls he had broken up with. But Ellen was always there beside him, always there to hold him into the night when he was down. Slefner wanted to sleep with her even though he had invited another guy to sleep in the same bed with him. In general, he preferred guys, but for her there was something more than lust, and something more than love that made him want to be held in her arms at night. Yet he had father feelings for her during the day and would always instruct her about how to pull the right triggers on handguns, push the right buttons on the nihilist likes of the arcades. Footnote that nihilist is in reference to a subset of roguelikes that I had designed. Some might view it as narcissistic, but he gave himself accolades, but also gave Ellen accolades. When she was shy, Slefner would clap her hands on her behalf to herself in order to build up her self-esteem. This would always make her stick her tongue out at him, but Slefner wanted Ellen to be only his own. When you get so lonely, you want to be with anyone. For Slefner, he would call up Ellen to see if she could come over even before they ran away together. They had romantic feelings, possessive feelings they had for nobody else. On some level, Slefner knew he was going to die. It was only a matter of time when the new gaming systems malfunctioned. He was left in a degenerating state. He was hoping to die and be left to fate. The doctors in the laboratory did not expect Schlesinger to live for more than a year. They were unsure as to whether this was because of cancer or some other condition. His natural vision began to decline, and he would eventually need prosthetic eyes to restore his vision. He could have died in what they referred to as dream space, but his ability to create his own world gave him just enough drive to survive to see the next day. But he soon found that the world created slowly lost its lucid quality, desires he had that were left dormant for so long. Schlesinger joined flesh with fairies and fought amongst noble armies. There was a wish about a falling star. He wanted to dine with the Tsars. His desire had always been to visit Russia before the revolution. As there was only so much in the history, people were taught that he actually believed. There was a certain unspoken contract. He was not supposed to share what he knew with anyone, not supposed to share with the few family he had left, yet for him it was simply source code. He found that all worlds deserved to be free, especially if he could free them and get many a blowjob. Wanting to share the dreams with his sweetheart Ellen, he knew she would love to hear a new story, yet the dream schemers told him not to say anything, or that they might decapitate Ellen with a National Razor crossbow. You know how it is when you're just under your freshman year in high school. If you get told one thing, you always want to do the opposite. He didn't like being told what to do. He wanted the power. This was his mistake, his greed, his youthful creed. Uploaded Fury, Part 2, Nadine's Story, Chapter 6, Eat Quietly, Then Leave, Part 2. Are you ready to order? Nadine heard Ellen say, as gradually as the vision from inside her dream began to fade away. She could remember various advertisements playing over in her brain. Yeah, I'll take a coffee, Nadine ordered, ate, then exited the building. After she walked to the sliding glass doors, Nadine tried to remember what it was that made her want to remember what those ads specifically were. Perhaps they reminded her of a lost time when she lived in the sky, as from when she was plugged into her deck. Somehow she got the impression that only worked when Nadine was plugged into the PodNet network. Blanky was outside to greet Nadine in a thick green fog that covered the city. She saw her take the powder, choking and snorting on it after accidentally taking a breath into it. Fumes were tossed into Nadine's direction. Remember, boy, you need me, or you will die cold during the night, Blanky said. Nadine's fruit pie. And that near calmness that would give just about anybody chills. Almost like she wasn't even there. Nadine needed something for her mental flight. Bianca's generosity was the only reason Nadine was even alive at all. The next morning, Nadine was disturbed by Blanky's cell phone and woke up as if rising from a fall from the sky. How was your sleep, dear wanderer? Blanky asked, eyeballing her like a cat to a mouse. Nadine thought that at 16 she was a little bit too old to be called a runaway. Besides, Blanky was not her mother. Nadine was not sure what felt more like a sledgehammer, Blanky's grating voice that can cut through anyone like a sword, or because of her aching robotic arm and her immunosuppressant withdrawals. So let's talk money for a minute. Do you wish to grab my only bullets? Blanky asked. I only wish to know how much you think is reasonable to give me to take the medication that I need. Nadine said, That you can carry it around with you, she said in that slightly less grating voice that was still that. To buy more of that powdery pill stuff. Nadine wasn't sure why she was still getting on to her about it, though in a way she was like a mother she never had in the city in the sky. For this reason, Nadine was still attached to Blanqui. Well, I'm going out, Nadine said, standing up in the nude. Hey, cover yourself up with this blanket, Blanqui said. Then dragged Nadine into the closet to try on some clothes that would not make Nadine stand out. Nadine, Malcolm, and Blanqui sat at the diner just down the road from Purgatory. Nadine was, of course, being the little unattentive asshole she was to the conversation, taking her immunosuppressant pill to subdue the physical pain from her robotic limbs. At some point, man, Malcolm said to Nadine. Then he snickered without really being amused. You need to buy your own. Malcolm raised one of his eyebrows at the waitress and placed his hamburger plate down on the table. I'll have a soda, make it a large, Blanqui said, choking on more pain powders herself, almost as if to keep Nadine from having them. She spewed powder on her shirt, causing Malcolm to growl at her. She puckered her lips mockingly at him, who smiled with a grimace. Blanqui then pushed Malcolm away, grabbing the soda from the waitress's hands. Malcolm quickly got it back from her after she tried taking a sip. You guys just can't get along, can you? Nadine thought. Outside the diner, Ellen and Slefner walked inside to the sliding glass doors. To the table right beside them, they sat. The Purgatory Road dwellers tried not to pay any particular attention to the Dangervilles. Just eat quietly, then leave. Slefner eyeballed Nadine's familia with his grill. Malcolm did not really seem to notice or care. Nadine did not really understand how anyone could get used to it, this environment, with that tension that was boiling under the surface. Uploaded Fairy, Part 2, Nadine's Story, Chapter 7, The Wolves Cry Out. Scene 1, Officer's Office. Rassi is sitting in an office scanning different forms of data about the underregions of the Potato District. The office is filled with different paperwork and old analog devices, although most surveillance had since gone digital. Rassi, holding the cell phone. Ah, yes, I see. So there's a large crowd at the barber shop. Can I have your phone number so I can call you back? Scene 2. The barber shop, midnight. The barber shop was actually a front. Behind the section where employees did their cuts was a mini stadium populated by different war dog models. Nadine visited the place from time to time after gaining trust from Malcolm. Malcolm, so you're telling me you haven't heard of war dogs? Nadine, not exactly. I've always wanted to make robot dogs, but only in the context of having a pet. Malcolm, what are you wanting exactly? A video game tutorial? Nadine, nah, a rundown of how they work. Cut 2. Slefner's dog attacks Malcolm's dog. Malcolm's dog loses one of its ears, but still has fight left inside the operating system. Malcolm, lost technology. Nobody knows exactly how they were built, and the military won't say anything. Nadine, that sucks, man. Malcolm, I know, right? Scene 3, parking lot. Militarized officer tanks fill the parking lot till it could not be filled anymore. Rassi, a dream scanner, approaches the door of the barber shop. She knocks on the door, not expecting an answer. Then she knocks on the latch. Malcolm, what's the passphrase, Doc? Rassi, isn't that a bit overkill? Malcolm, why use a password when you can use a passphrase? Rassi, let us in, or I'm calling your parents. Scene 4, alleyway. Nadine is limping. She remembered how the war dogs malfunctioned, leading the militarized cops to raid the barber shop. Ellen helped her stand up while they went to find safety. Nadine, what happened to Malcolm and Slefner? Ellen, don't worry, we're going to be fine. What did Rassi mean by your mother was waiting for you? Nadine, it's a long story, but in short, I came from the city in the sky. You might think I'd want to go back home, but you'd be wrong. I'd rather not. Ellen, but can you trust us, and especially me? Nadine, it looks like I have no other choice.